Hello, and thank you for joining us for this walkthrough of our current exhibition, Last Impressions. My name is Bradley Butler, and I am the Executive Director and Curator at Main Street Arts in Clifton Springs, New York. Last Impressions is an exhibition of rare and rarely seen etchings by Robert Ernst Marx. Etchings included in the exhibition highlight each decade of Robert's career as a printmaker, with dates ranging from the early 1960s through the early 2000s. And the idea in calling this exhibition Last Impressions comes from the fact that there are only one of each of these etchings left in the archive of Robert's work. This exhibition is made possible in part by the Rochester Area Community Foundation. So what I'm going to do is take you through a walkthrough of the exhibition so you can see the entire thing yourself, and also focus in on specific pieces in the show. So first I'll give you a view of the two rooms. And since this exhibition includes a majority unframed works on paper, we really wanted to have, kind of a dynamic statement. And so we painted the walls this dark color, which really show off Robert's work in a great way. And also kind of relate to the black and white nature of the prints themselves, to have the black and white walls, or the dark walls and light walls. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Robert as I walk through the show here. Robert Marx was born in Germany in 1925 and immigrated to the U.S. with his family just 2 years later. He received his MFA in 1953 and BFA in 1951. Both from the University of Illinois in Chicago. He had a 7-decade career as a printmaker, painter, and sculptor, and sadly passed away in 2020, just months shy of his 95th birthday. He held teaching positions at the university level, most notably at SUNY Brockport in Brockport, New York, where he was awarded the title of Distinguished Professor Emeritus in 1990. Robert's work has been exhibited internationally and is held in major museum collections, including the Museum of Modern Art, National Gallery of Art, Seattle Art Museum, and Whitney Museum of American Art, among many others, also including Rochester's Memorial Art Gallery. Robert's work is also included in rare book libraries at the University of Chicago, Yale University, Oxford University, and Harvard University. And Robert said of his work, "The people I draw, paint, and sculpt personify the human condition. They are also the people we see around us every day. I have favorite themes. I am troubled by the arrogance of power, the exclusivity of the institutions of church and state, the abuse of and by both spouse and child, and our own and others' personal fears and insecurities. We are also, to some degree, trapped by the conventions we have chosen to impose upon ourselves." While painful to express, these themes desperately need expression, and I have done it by creating my own visual language while building upon the inventions of my artistic ancestors. For example, Picasso was the first to paint a dismembered human body to convey a sense of futility. I also use symbols, mannequins, masks, and dangling limbs on puppet strings as my visual shorthand for controlling forces which frustrate us all. And he said, I work not only for myself, but also to make a connection with you. I do so as elegantly as I can, and with an ambiguity that invites you to join your interpretation with my own. If I'm successful, my people will now make eye contact with you, and our dialogue will begin. And I think that those words still hold very true. The dialogue that we each have with the work in this show ends up being a long conversation. There's a lot that's there, but there's also a lot left that's not explained, that is just something to contemplate. And I just love that Robert's statement was always so consistent and so simple, but also left a lot to be interpreted, and people really bring their own interpretation to the work with the guidance that he left us as far as his statement goes. So I just want to focus in on a few individual pieces. There's a couple interesting local connections in this exhibition, so I'll start with this one here. So this broadside with the poem called Beauty by William Hayen. This is dedicated to honor Grant Holcomb's 20th year as director at Memorial Art Gallery. So this was back in 2006. Grant since retired from his position there. But it was just really interesting to see, Robert acknowledging Grant in this way, and also with William Hayen, who's also a local poet. And that's not the first time that he and Robert had actually worked together. They did at least one other project, and that was a portfolio called The Poetics of Hiroshima. And that was a long poem that William Hayen had written, and Robert did the imagery for. And so we have 6 of those images here. So we're just seeing the images, we're not seeing the text that goes along with these. But that was a portfolio from 2010. And you can see all of the images here. And just with the title, Poetics of Hiroshima, you have the sense of, what that is about. And these images are very evocative of that imagery that is also present in the poetry. And so a lot of these titles are called Victim, Victim of the Bomb, Missing, Ghost of the Victim, Haunted, Mother and Child. So you really get a sense of, really the atrocities of war, and especially on the human level, which is what Robert was really, one of the things he was really after in his work was talking about the human experience. And a little bit about Robert and his relation to Main Street Arts. Robert was first invited to show his work at Main Street Arts in an exhibition called Being Human, which opened in January of 2014. A 2-person exhibition was held in April 2017 called Re-Emerging Artists, which also included the work of John Green of Pine Plains, New York. So included work by John and Robert. In 2019, the solo exhibition Silent Voices, Silent Rooms featured Robert's new drawings and paintings at the time on the main floor, along with a selection of etchings on the second floor. And later in 2019, plans for an exhibition to coincide with Robert's 95th birthday were made, and Heavy Metal opened on December 12th, which would have been his 95th birthday in 2020. And this was the largest exhibition of Robert's work at Main Street Arts. And focusing in on another of the pieces in the show, this one's called Masks. And Robert did many works with mask or masks in the title, this being one of them. And this is from 1998. And you can definitely see a lot of symbolism being used here, as he mentioned in his artist statement. And the one thing that is really great about this exhibition is everything is unframed, aside from, I think, 3 different pieces, which allows us to really see the texture of the paper and all of that great tone that happens in the etching and aquatint process. Just great textures, and just really lets us be, on the same level as the etching, rather than seeing our reflection. Because right now, if I was showing this to you on a video, you'd be seeing me looking right at you through the glass. So it's really just a great experience to see these in person without the glass in between. And another reason that that's great is because, you'll see little things that Robert had written about the work. So for example, this one is another local connection as well. So this was to celebrate BOA Editions, their 25th year, and that was from 2002. And so you see here, he just wrote BOA print, and then this was an artist proof. That's what the AP stands for there. And down here on the 10th of June 2002, he wrote OK to print. So that would mean that this was most likely the last artist proof, and then he went on to make the edition, which is just a really interesting piece of history about the work and about how, you know, Robert worked as a printmaker. You know, maybe he never expected anyone to actually see this particular print, but I think especially in the context of this exhibition, it's really interesting. And I'll go a little closer in on here so you can see the details here. But one of the things I always appreciate about Robert's work, and Robert in general, is how consistent he was across whatever medium he was doing. Paintings, prints, sculpture, drawings. He had a very similar approach to all of these. The marks, you know, almost look the same in a painting versus an etching. I mean, obviously we have the act of painting, which is very different from printmaking, but you know, all of the things that he liked to do, that visual shorthand that he mentioned in his statement, it really comes through in whatever medium that he was using, which I really appreciate. So in 2021, the Robert and Francie Marx Art Resource Library opened on our second floor. And among the 2,000 books in our collection, about 300 of them came from Robert's studio. And those were kind of among the first to be donated to Main Street Arts. So you can definitely see some of the books that Robert was looking at as far as inspiration goes when he was making his work. So you can see those in the library. And you can also find a selection of paintings and bronzes up there during this exhibition. So in addition to the etchings that you're seeing here, you can also go upstairs and see a selection of paintings by Robert. And just also to reiterate that this exhibition ranges from the 1960s through the early 2000s. And you know, that consistency I mentioned about Robert between media is also the same for Robert throughout the years. You'll definitely see things, you know, the people might look a little different. He approaches, you know, rendering the human figure differently throughout the years. But you'll also see things that are the same. You'll say, oh, I think this is from the 70s, and then it ends up being from the 90s, or vice versa. So it's just really interesting to see how consistent he was in the work that he did. I think I'll just point out a couple last prints here. So there are two pieces that look almost identical in this show. And this is called, They Were Fighting About Religion, and this one has a note, Second State. So you can see that there. This is from '98. And my understanding is that he did many of these, but we have two of them in the show. So you can kind of see this one, and then we're going to go across the gallery to the other room and see the other one with the same title, but there are differences. The main difference being this line that runs across. It goes right off the edge here. That's missing from the other print. But it's the same basic idea as far as the composition goes. But, you know, maybe it's a level of kind of getting to the point of perfecting the image for him or just not being satisfied. I know he would oftentimes, very often, sand and paint over paintings. So maybe this is kind of the same tendency, was to keep changing the etching in this particular instance. So this exhibition runs through Wednesday, November 1st, and we are open on Tuesday and Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So be sure to visit our website, mainstreetartscs.org, to view photographs of the exhibition on our Flickr page. You can also preview and purchase etchings online, So if you're unable to see this show in person, it's a great opportunity to see the installation shots of the show, and then also to view the work that's available on our online store. So we do hope that you get a chance to see it in person if you can.